Continue. Okay, hi everyone, welcome. I'm Shelly. I'll be the one teaching the workshop today. So we're gonna learn all about carrots and how to paint that. So it's gonna be so much fun. I just truly appreciate you all for tuning in and just for joining me on this afternoon. I know a lot of you are in the evenings, and especially if you're tuning in from another country, it should be the next day. So thank you so much for just your love and support. It means the world. I cannot wait to teach you all about the watercolor techniques and just all that fun stuff, because watercolors is just so much fun. It makes my heart so happy just to see all the colors and the pigments mixed together with water. So a quick fun thing about me. So again, I'm Shelly. I'm also Letters by Shells on social media, and that's my business name. So if a lot of you have been following my journey for some time, you may know that I started my whole art journey just to explore a creative outlet. I was super stressed out when I was working full time, and I wanted a way to kind of think about things that made me happy and what I can do other than think about work all the time. So that was my that's the reason why I chose art, and it was just this amazing exposure that I had no idea what was going to come out of it, but I'm so honored that I've been able to just explore art that way. So that's the reason why my business and the art that I do is all focused on positivity and spreading that love. So thank you again for, just your love and support. So the brands today that I'll be using are my favorite. They're going to be the Strathmore watercolor paper. Sarah from Strathmore is also in here, so she'll be answering some questions about the products if you have questions about that. Along with, I'll be using Princeton brushes, which is also one of my favorites. And my other favorite is going to be the Daler-Rowney watercolors. So I'll go ahead and show the materials really fast as well. So we're going to be using the watercolor cards, but any watercolor card paper can work just fine. Along with, I'll be using the Princeton Elite brushes. It's going to be the round 4. I have extra brushes just in case. And then I'm going to be using the Daler-Rowney watercolors here. So that's the reason why I'm excited just to be here and to paint with you all. So thank you again for tuning in with me. Sarah, did you want to do a fun fact about the brands?
Sure, yeah, I'll just, I'll make it quick so we can get right into the good stuff. But something fun about Daler-Rowney is originally that started back in the 1800s, the pigments were used to dye wigs. And then when people weren't really, gentlemen weren't wearing wigs so much anymore, then they kind of transitioned their expertise in pigment and shifted it into colors and making watercolors and acrylics and those types of pigments. So that's kind of a fun fact about the Daler-Rowney brand.
Oh wow, so awesome! I had no idea too.
Yeah, very historical. Out of made in the UK, so it's out of England.
Yeah, oh, so cool. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to just get into it, and I'm gonna go ahead and make sure. So these are the pieces that we're going to be painting today, and I just feel like it's so fun and just it's such it can be used for anything. It could be good for cards, patterns, just even a print, and you can also pair it with hand lettering as well. So that's the reason why I love doing patterns like this. So I think the first thing that I'm going to go ahead and do is, I think it might be nice just to demonstrate a little bit about how the carrot shapes will be painted, and then we'll start building on painting individual carrots, and then I'll go ahead and talk more about that process on making that pattern. So when you see the carrot itself, I'm typically going to do an upside down raindrop shape. So I'll go ahead and kind of start from the outer on the top. It's going to be a little bit rounded, and then I'm just going to go ahead and start narrowing it down at an angle, and then just matching the other side at that angle as well. So the most important part is that when you paint the carrot, I want you to have a really rough finish at the very end right here. So it's not going to be a really sharp point, but it can be a little bit rough. So you'll notice that some may go in one direction. So then I'm also going to go ahead and paint some carrots that may actually go in another direction. Kind of like that. So just kind of keep that in mind, because When I first started painting carrots and just like patterns and stuff, I wanted to make everything like super perfect, but I realized that's like carrots in real life, like vegetables, they're not super perfect. So that was the reason why I wanted to explore more of that beauty and make sure that some carrots will be in different sizes, some will go in one direction, and things like that. Yep. So any questions about kind of like the shape of the carrot so far? Are we all good?
Someone's asking why you chose carrots and chose to draw carrots.
I know, right? So, okay. I think when I first started painting with watercolors, I thought watercolors was just really tough to kind of explore. And then I just kept thinking about, okay, like what's a really simple thing that I can paint? And I think like I was walking in the stores, I'm like, carrots. Okay, I'm gonna try to paint that. I think because I wanted to paint with different colors, because the carrots that I saw, it was like the rainbow pack. So that's the reason why I got interested in it. But at the time, I didn't like carrots, so I kept painting it. I was like, maybe one day I'll like carrots. But now I do. I like carrots now. But that's the reason why I chose carrots. It was super random and it was just like spur of the moment. But I was surprised how like fun they turned out.
Awesome. And then someone's asking if you could zoom in or maybe hold up the paper closer to the camera to show the ends of them.
Oh yeah. So you'll notice that like the ends are just kind of like rough. So I'll go ahead and demonstrate that in the paintbrush as well, the way I end it. So we're gonna go ahead and paint the individual carrots first. I'm gonna show you like 3 different versions of like how we're gonna be finishing them and painting them. And then we'll go ahead and start the process of the patterns. Yep. Any other questions? Are we all good? Yeah. So I know it's super random why I chose carrots as my go-to. So I'm gonna get some paper and then we'll go ahead and dive into it. So with this, I'll go ahead and we're just gonna do some like practice runs. So feel free to join me if you'd like. I'm just gonna go ahead and dip my paintbrush in the water really fast just to loosen up the brushes.
And then Shelly, someone's asking about the brush size that you're using.
Yeah, I'm using the brush size 4. So it's like the round 4, only because if I were to be painting on like a bigger paper, then like a bigger brush size could work fine. But because I'm going to be using like a 5x7 sheet size paper, that's the reason why I chose a smaller brush tip. Yeah. I hope that answered the questions. So I'm going to go ahead and join and choose this color orange right here. And I'm just going to go ahead and add some water to it. So I'm going to go ahead and use these little areas just to like blend in the color. And if I want to add more water, this is going to be a good way to do that. So the first carrot that I want to go ahead and draw and like kind of like have throughout my pattern piece is that I'm going to go ahead and start at the very top right here. And then what I'm going to go ahead and do is that I'm going to like make that shape that I kind of demonstrated like that. And then I'm going to go ahead and just like outline it and as I go down. But then this end part right here, what I was talking about is that I'm not going to just end it at that tip. I want to basically make sure like I can add some like rough edges to it. And it's like not super perfect. And that's the first outline. And basically the one option could be is that we fill the rest of the carrot with the exact same color and it's going to be like a really solid finish. So that is one way. And then you can go back and if you want to kind of like smooth out the edges, you totally can do so. But it really is optional because in real life, I feel like carrots do look like that. They look like they have like really rough points at the bottom. So that is one option to kind of go about that process. I'm going to go ahead and paint the stems towards the very end because I don't want the grain to mix with the pigments. Another way I'm going to go ahead and paint the carrots is this. I'll go ahead and still keep that exact same outline. So I'm going to go down and keep that same outline area. And So you'll notice that the one thing the carrot designs all have in common is that I'm outlining it with my paintbrush only. And then after I get a good solid outline, I'm going to rinse my paintbrush in the water. And now I'm just going to pull in the colors using the water only. And you'll notice that it creates this like really soft finish. So once it dries, you'll notice that the edges have like, it's really pigmented, and towards the center, it'll become really soft. Any questions so far? How are y'all doing?
Before you started painting, someone was just asking about using pencil lines first and then going over with the paint, or going directly onto the paper with just paint and no pencil.
Yeah. Okay. No, such a good question. I mean, I would, if you want to do pencil, you totally can do so. Like I do a lot of watercolor pieces where I sketch with pencil, but the only thing is that it depends on like how much pigment you are going to be using, since sometimes you'll be able to see the pencil come through the paint itself. So if you do sketch with pencil, just make sure it's like a really light finish, and then that way you'll just use that more as a guide. But no, super good questions, and you totally can do so. Pencil is my best friend when it comes to art. Okay, thank you. So now what the next carrot that we're going to be painting is this. I'm going to go ahead and use a pigment again, but this time let's go ahead and make this carrot maybe a little bit lighter. So I use only orange for these two designs. So instead, if I were to grab some of the pigment and just kind of work on this palette here, I'm going to rinse my paintbrush in water and now grab some yellow, and we can just make like a lighter tone orange.
Two more questions came in. One, how do you like to eat your carrots, Shelly? And then second, do you go back and layer with different shades over your carrot?
Okay, yeah, no, good questions. Carrots, so I really just started liking them like last year. I actually like dipping them in mustard because I saw something on TikTok and this person was doing it, and then I tried it and I love mustard, so yeah, that's been yummy. But other than that, I'll just normally steam them as well and bake them. Good questions. And with the carrot itself, for the pattern design, you can go back and add a second layer of paint if you want to create that, like, I guess like a more like solid finish, but I'm not going to do that for my watercolor pieces. I'm just going to go straight into just drawing it once, and the goal is just to make it really soft and stuff like that. Yeah. Okay, and I see some questions. All my social platforms, it's still Letters by Shell, so I'm on there as well. Well, thank you. You guys are so sweet. So now with this, I went ahead and dipped my yellow inside the pigment as well. And now it might not look like super light, but then once it dries, you'll notice that there is a difference. And then I'm just going to go ahead and keep that same exact shape. And then at the very bottom, just kind of like, again, have that rough finish. And then with this one, let's go ahead and just paint like the half of it with the pigment, and now rinse your paintbrush in water completely. Now the other half will just be with water. And then you'll notice that it has like a really, like it goes from the dark pigmented area to like a light finish, and it just adds like really nice elements throughout the watercolor piece itself. So I'll go ahead and kind of show you the example of this one. So you'll notice that just by looking at it, there are some lighter shades of carrots along with some darker ones. And then I don't know if the lighting can see it. Usually like with this one, I tried doing that technique where half of it was pigment only and the other half was water only. And then the other ones is just, this is like a solid color as well. So I think like introducing these elements into your pieces can be like a really nice finish and make it stand out versus just having that one technique. And then after everything is dried, I'm going to go ahead and just go grab some green color here and mix my color in there. You can also mix in different green colors as well. And for this design, we're just going to go ahead and just draw some like really loose finishes. So just adding some stems. I'm just going to add like really light pressure, starting from the point right there and going up, and then just kind of continuing that same motion. And then you can kind of like have that finish. If you wanted to like make it more bushy, you can go back and add like another layer of lines, just like that. So honestly with this, the goal is to like not think too much about it. Before I used to like go crazy and like draw too many leaves, and it kind of just took away from the carrot itself. And feel free if you need to tilt your paper. I'm always a fan of that. So
Shelley, someone's asking how often you change your water.
oh yeah, I change my water usually after like every other piece, but you'll notice that like right now it's like this like light orange color. Once I mix it with green, it might get like a little bit like darker. I'll start like, I don't think I change my water as often as I probably should, but I'll know, like for me, as long as I can still see the pigments come through, then I'm okay with it. But for the most part, the good point is just to change it out after every project. Yeah.
Great. And then someone's wondering if you're using the same size brush for the stems as well, or if you've switched to a smaller detail brush.
Okay, no, good question. I'm using the exact same round 4 brush. You can use like a smaller detail brush if you'd like. I just, instead, what the difference is that when I'm using the round 4 brush to paint the carrots, I'm mainly using like the belly of the paintbrush itself. So I'm going to like kind of like use the side of the brush itself. But when I'm making the stems, the goal is just to use like the point. So that's a good question. I probably should have addressed that. When I'm painting the carrots, I'm mainly usually holding my paintbrush at like a horizontal angle. And then when I'll paint the stems, I'll hold it at that vertical angle and just use the very tip of the paintbrush just to draw like my stems.
Okay. And then can you show the brush again when you get a chance for someone that came in late, just to see, this is the size 4
size 4.
round brush.
Yeah. And I'm using the size 4. I mean, like you can use other sizes as well. I guess it just depends how big your paper is and how big of the design you want to paint the carrots. But yeah, the size 4 usually works for me. And then I'll try to use as much water just to like make sure that everything pulls together with the pigments. Yeah. Yeah, such good questions. Yeah, I'm so happy that you guys were like asking and yeah, participating. It makes my heart so happy. But I guess we're pretty much solid on that. So again, the first one is we use just one pigment only, and the second one, we basically did the outline of the carrot and pulled the rest of the pigments with the water only. And then the last carrot, we did use a lighter shade of the color orange, and we mixed it with the color yellow. And we mainly just painted one side of it and then pulled the rest with water. And I do see a question as well. Yeah, I'll show the solid carrot one more time. And watercolor, can I use watercolor paint? So yeah, you can totally use any type of like watercolors that you're comfortable with. And so I'm gonna go ahead and I'll grab a new sheet so I can show you that breakdown of the solid carrot. Let me just do this slide right here. So with the solid carrot, I'm going to basically dip my paintbrush in water just to add some water. So the amount of water that I'm putting on the paintbrush, it's basically just enough so I can mix in my pigments together and it can like create that creamy texture. Because what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to use this palette right here just to blend out the colors, and I can basically get more water by dipping my paintbrush in water and not tapping the excess, but just dragging it in here and then adding more water this way. So the amount of water that I'll use to like paint the carrots is that my goal for this is I don't want there to be like a blob of water, but like kind of have like a nice layer of water and pigment could be fine. If you use a little bit more water, that's totally fine. It's just that you're just gonna have to wait a little bit longer for it to dry. That's it. Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and demonstrate it again. So the solid color again is basically having that outline. So I'm thinking like of my pencil, like, or my paintbrush as like my pencil, painting that outline of the carrot for myself, like that. And basically I want to make sure that I'm using like a a layer amount of water just because I don't want the outline to dry by the time I add in the water afterwards. So I'm gonna go ahead, make my outline like that. And then I'm just gonna fill in the rest. And the goal is just to make sure that the outline is still wet as you paint the rest of the carrot. And then the other outline, I'm gonna go ahead and do, I'll just go ahead and show the other technique as well. So I'm going to use the paintbrush to make my outline again. So then I'm going to make like a really rough finish at the very end, but instead I'm just gonna paint the other half with pigment only. So I do wanna make sure that it's still wet and it just has like a nice layer of water and paint. And then rinse my paintbrush in water completely. And I'll just paint the other half. And what I'm gonna go ahead and do is just make sure that I'm going back around the edges a little bit, just to make sure that if it did dry, it can kind of become like a softer finish.
Okay, someone's asking if they could use acrylic paint instead of watercolor for this.
Oh yeah, you can definitely use acrylic. Acrylic will just create that more like solid color palette, but I think it works totally fine. I think it just might be that if you want it to look like really pigmented on one side and the other side not so pigmented, you just have to probably go back using a different color of orange. Yeah. Okay, no, such good questions. Thank you for asking. And I think we're all set. So then once again, the carrot's dry, I'm gonna go back and add the stems. The reason why I wait for it to dry is just because you'll see here that I kind of touched it a little bit like the stem with the carrot. So if it was still wet, that green will just pull down and then half the carrot will end up turning green. And if you want to create that really clean finish, I recommend for it to dry first.
And someone's asking how you add texture to the carrot.
Add texture. What kind of texture are you talking about? I want to make sure, is it with the pigments that I would be creating that texture, or would it be if you wanted to go back and add some details? I hope I can answer.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye and see if
Okay.
come back in. And then someone's asking about the paint palette, and that is a Daler-Rowney 24 half pan travel tin that Shelly's using. It is similar to the Sakura's Koi watercolors that you're talking about. So it's got the same amount of color options within the set, and it's a really nice quality pigmented watercolor paint. So you get really nice color load and nice results with the paints with it.
Oh, thank you, Sarah. Okay, so if I want to make sure, I think I know the texture that you're talking about. There will be times that if once it does dry, you can go back. I don't do it very often. I would only do it if my goal is just to paint like these like huge carrots on the paper. But if I'm making the pattern, I don't focus too much on the details of it. But after it dries, you can always go back and grab some pigment and basically just like add some lines. So like I'm not trying to like draw like a realistic carrot here. I just want to like make sure that it's like really like just like rough finishes. So I'll go ahead and draw some like really light strokes of lines right here like that. And I think it just kind of creates like that really fun effect. So I hope that's kind of like what you're talking about when it comes to like adding texture. So then after that, after it dries, it should be a little bit of a softer finish. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and make sure that these are still off to the side right here. And I'm gonna go ahead and start painting the pattern itself. And again, the reason why I like painting patterns is because the focus is not so much on just like the individual carrots itself, but just like how the piece is composed. And I do feel like patterns could be like a really cool background when it comes to like if you want to pair it with your hand lettering, or if you want to like I guess like digitize this into if you wanted to like make it into like tissue paper or like gift wrapping papers, things like that. And that's the reason why I kind of like was inspired. I haven't made like gift wrapping paper into the design, but I did of my like peaches that I made another time ago. But, so yeah, are we all set? Oh yeah, so I know that Sarah, would it be okay if I quickly just kind of talk about the digitization process?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Cool. So when it comes to like digitizing your watercolors, after it does dry, like there's two ways to go about this. You can basically create that pattern first and then scan it into using your printer and then just uploading it to your computer. So then usually with the pattern, it's more of like a technical process. You do have to use different like programs. I normally like to use Illustrator to make sure that I can design this into like an actual pattern palette. But it is a little bit more technical, but if you have, you know, specific questions about digitizing your watercolors, I do want to make like more tutorials about that, and feel free just to reach out to me. You can always like reach out to me via my email. I'm really good about responding to emails, and yeah, just feel free to like always reach out, because like it is a little bit more steps that I don't know if I can cover it in the class, but it's a really good question though. And I do feel like you should all digitize your watercolors because you don't have to paint it again. You could just paint it one time. Okay, so we'll go ahead and go back into this piece. So when it comes to the pattern itself, I'm gonna go ahead and when it comes to like making patterns, honestly, like it is trial and error. Like there are times where like the first one I paint is like awesome, and I'm like, okay, I'm set on this, and I'm not going to redo it. But there are times that I'm like, oh no, like I don't like how I angled the carrots itself, so I might have to like redo them, and that's totally okay too. So we'll go ahead and see how this one turns out. So the first thing is first, whatever is comfortable to you. I like to start at the corners first because I want to basically start painting like around the corners and then the edges, and that way I can kind of build on how to place them in this center point here.
And we have a question from Allison about how can we prevent the carrots from drying with hard line of pigment around them?
Oh, okay. It would be like how much water and like pigment you do use. Like for mine, like there are times where like I have like a really hard finish on them. So like my goal is to make sure that I try my best to like not go back after like it's in the drying process and like adding another layer of paint. I hope that answered your question. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and start my process. So I'm gonna start at the edge right here. And I'm just going to, now the goal is to basically paint the carrots a little bit smaller. So I'm gonna go ahead and start at that corner right there, and then kind of like round it out the top and finishing up that outline. Okay. And then this first one, I'm gonna go ahead and just paint the left half of it with pigment only, and then rinse my paintbrush in water and just pull the rest of the pigment with water only. So I did use a little bit of too much water here, so it might look a little bit like muddy, but it's okay. You can always like wait for it to dry and it should be fine. But the goal is to like make sure that you're not going back and like keep like doing like touch-ups around the edges. After I do that design, I'll go ahead and just kind of stop and move on, because I want to make sure that the focus is not just, or I guess because if you do go back and try to like fix that one carrot on the entire patterns, you may be able to see that one carrot is like more pigmented and things like that. Okay. So then let's go ahead and since I started on that bottom left corner, I'm going to go ahead and now start on the edge right here on the right hand side. And the goal is to basically create that exact same like size that I did the first time around, but instead when I end it, I'm going to kind of have it go towards each other. So I'll go ahead and draw that little outline. Okay. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and go out this way. That. And then this one, I'm just gonna fill in the rest with just orange. It's gonna be like this solid carrot. So like there is like really no right or wrong answer in terms of like what color I choose. I just feel free just to kind of like do them very randomly and things like that. Okay. Yay, so then the last, I'm gonna go ahead and now starting at the upper left-hand corner and draw the same carrot. So I am going to like move my paper often to like help myself, because the goal is that I want to basically paint everything, but I don't want to keep touching and or like resting my hand on top of the painted elements already. So I'm gonna go ahead and kind of like paint this way. Let's see. And basically, you'll notice that with this one, I'm painting it like more, like not just like straight, like how I did with the rest. And it's just because when you're creating the pattern of the carrots, imagine like as if like you threw a bunch of carrots on like a piece of paper and kind of like see how that placement will be. It's not going to be like super straight. Like that. Okay, so how are we doing so far? Okay, I want to make sure, I wasn't sure if there was like more questions just or stuff like that. Okay.
Someone's asking if you used the color yellow at any point.
Yeah, the color yellow will be when I'll go ahead just mix it with my orange. But I mean, I guess we can do like yellow carrots too. We want to do, we could do the orange carrots and yellow carrots, because I know that carrots come in different colors too. So then, yeah, we'll go ahead and do that. That'll be fun. And, okay.
Just a couple, someone's asking about seeing a bitten carrot, maybe, maybe on one of your scratch sheets or later you could show a carrot that's been bitten. And then somebody's asking if watercolor paper has a right and a wrong side. I can answer that one if you want to, while you're working, Shelly. So with watercolor paper, there is usually a right and a wrong side. And when I say right and wrong, there's usually there's a felt side and there's a wire side. And felt means that during the manufacturing process, there's an actual felt that imparts the pattern on the top side of the sheet. And then the bottom side runs across a wire on the machine. So felt and wire. So the top side or the felt side is usually the ideal side of a watercolor sheet that you're going to want to use, because that's where we intentionally put the pattern onto the sheet for the artist to use. It's going to, when you use like a cold press sheet of watercolor paper, you're going to see those peaks and valleys on the top side. And that's the one that you want to use. That's going to give you those nice even washes. You can usually tell the top side or the right side is usually a little bit more random of a texture, whereas the wire side, the bottom side, looks a little bit more machine made. So it's also going to depend on the type of watercolor paper you're using, but typically you can tell when the texture is a little bit more random and pronounced, that's the side that you want to use. Both sides are still going to work just fine, so there's nothing wrong with the bottom side. But usually it's going to perform a little bit more to most artists' liking if you use the top side of the watercolor sheet. So hopefully that helps answer that question.
Wow, thank you, Sarah. That was such a good answer. Okay, so I went ahead and painted like a yellow carrot at the bottom right-hand corner right here. So this is the time that I'm going to actually turn my paper over, because then I want to have some carrots kind of like upside down when I see the paper itself. So I'll go ahead and start at the edge now. And the reason why I'm starting at the edge is because I want to make sure that I kind of have like a difference in colors. So I'll have like the orange carrots here, and then the yellow carrot will be somewhere in the middle. And you can basically have that carrot more towards that edge. And I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of have it towards that edge as well. So again, I'm still using my paintbrush just to like outline my carrots itself. and then I'll go ahead and fill it in. I'm going to fill half with pigment only, and the other half I'm just going to fill it with water because I want it to have like a softer finish. And then we'll kind of go ahead and just continue the pattern itself. So in order for me to kind of make the carrots a little bit different when it comes to that middle point right here, I'm going to go ahead and do the same technique. I'll go ahead and have a carrot. I'm going to go ahead and actually drop down here a little bit lower. And I'll go ahead and do like half with pigment and the other half with water just to kind of create that really soft finish. Actually, I'm going to do the outline only and just kind of pull the rest with the water only as well. And just kind of continuing that same process. So I'll go ahead and add some more yellow. So with my color yellow, I did, majority of it's yellow, and I just add like a hint of like orange a little bit, just to kind of like a dab to that paint itself and just mixing the rest.
And Shelly, do you have any recommendations for doing this process with watercolor brush pens or watercolor pencils?
Okay, watercolor brush pens or watercolor pencils.
Yeah, someone's saying they've got watercolor pencils, so just wondering what the process would be.
Okay, I haven't used watercolor pencils too much, but I would assume that it would be really similar to that way where you basically create that outline first and then using the paintbrush and water and just kind of pulling the colors in together. I know that some watercolor pencils hydrate faster than others, so it might be the case where you have to like outline the carrot and fill in the entire carrot with the colored pencil and then go back in and add some like water just to kind of like rehydrate the areas. But that's a good question. I'll go ahead and test out my watercolor pencils too. I have some, but I never really kind of fully experimented with them.
Yeah. And then there's a question about how you care for your brushes.
Oh yeah, how do you care? So with the brushes itself, so like what I've learned over time is that when I'm using them, I don't want it to like sit in the water only for, I know like in the past I have done that, or I left my paintbrushes in water overnight, and what ends up happening is that the very tip of the brush, it might become like you'll notice that because when it rests at the bottom of the water cup, it's going to basically kind of like go at an angle, and that angle will be like really hard to kind of like fix and bring back together. So oftentimes I'll just like rest my paintbrush like this on the water itself, and then, or I'll just kind of like put it here and not just like dip it in the water. But I do also, after I'm done using them, I will clean my paintbrushes and I'll actually have them dry overnight like this, just like on top of a cup or on my table, and not so much like storing it away right away. Yeah. And oh yeah, I know that Tyler, really fast, how does it work when people want to show their artwork pieces? They would just show on their camera?
Yeah, basically you can change your screen to like a grid screen and then you can see other people's work. Because of the recording, we can't make it the spotlight video,
Okay.
but you can see it and comment it and they can see each other's work if they do the same thing.
Okay, very, very cool. My gosh, okay, so I'm going to do that quick. I saw a comment, so your carrots look amazing. You guys are way ahead of me. I'm like not done yet. So awesome. No, I love seeing all the carrot pieces come to life. Oh, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm just like watching all the videos and seeing what pops up. Aw. You all, I've been like waiting for this day for the longest time. I've been like, I wanted to like host the workshop and I was just counting down the days and I can't believe it's already here. So honestly, I hope that you're having a best time, because being here painting with you all is truly just brightening my day and making my entire like year almost. So yeah, thanks. So thankful that you are all here with me. Yay. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and kind of go back into it. Thank you for letting me see your carrot designs. So I'm gonna go ahead and just finish up the rest right here. So I'll go ahead and I turn my paper over on the other side just to now fill in like the gaps. So like, honestly, this is like a big like trial and error where you can kind of experiment and see, okay, like, cause I'm like, I did see a question about if carrots are too close together and if the tails can touch. Yeah, they totally can. It would just depend what type of like pattern you want to create for your art pieces. So if you want to have some carrots that are closer together, you definitely can do so. And that's totally fine. So now with that, I'm going to go ahead and fill in the rest. So let's go ahead and actually paint one carrot like off to the edge itself. So it would depend like where it's going to be like painted. So I'll go ahead and show a couple. So if I were to paint like the bottom of the carrot right here at the very end, what I'm going to go ahead and do is that I'm just going to basically pretend that I'm painting a carrot like around. Sometimes if you need to help yourself just to like have a piece of paper and like paint out the whole thing, you definitely can do so. Sometimes I find it really hard to like kind of have like a momentum if I don't paint the entire thing. So I'll go ahead and kind of like basically like use other sheet of paper just to help myself. And then just basically draw the rest of the carrot. Like that. So that way it feels a little bit more natural with the carrot. So then I don't know if a lot of people do that, but I do that. And then, so that's like kind of like one way to like paint the edges. And that would be the exact same way if you wanted to paint closer to this edge. So I'll go ahead and use a piece of paper and just to kind of like give myself a guide. That. There. And just painting the rest. Just like that. And so with this piece, I'm almost done. I just want to go ahead and paint a couple more carrots like in the middle and maybe just like one more on the top right there. And I'll go ahead and paint like different ways of painting the stem. That'll be super fun. I'm like trying to see how I want to place the carrot. So I'll go ahead and, so for this example right here, I'm basically going to paint my carrots. The reason why I'm not doing it upside down is because the one right next to it is upside down. So instead, my goal is to, let's try to paint the carrot a little bit more straight down because the top one right here goes at one angle and the other one finishes up at another angle as well. So I'll go ahead and finish that up. And also like, if you would like to basically like have some like areas where like you see some like where you don't cover it with paint or water, that's totally fine too. So you'll notice that I have some like white spaces, just like not so much, but just like very little. Yeah. And then I'll go ahead and continue my yellow carrots. I'm going to paint it upside down over here. And I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm trying to see how I want to do it. Actually, I'm not going to do it upside down. Let's go ahead and just paint it this way. I was trying not to paint another yellow carrot because the one next to it is yellow, but it's okay. I'll go ahead and try to throw some orange into it.
Sounds like some people are making purple carrots as well.
I know. I do like purple carrots a lot. That's so awesome though. And I didn't do purple carrots here. But yeah, if we have time, we can do more and then we can kind of like, yeah, have fun with it. Would that be okay, Sarah? After this carrot pattern, can I show just like maybe like a bundle of carrots next to each other?
Yeah, you bet.
Okay, cool. So then basically that's it. I'm actually going to fill in this one last part here. Thank you all for watching my process. Let's go ahead and add a little bit more orange. So instead here, I'm going to go ahead and just draw the top part. Okay, just the top part. I'm going to grab my piece of paper and use that as a guide. Okay. And then just kind of pull in more water and just to get that. Okay, cool. So basically that's that. So you'll notice that, like, honestly, like my carrots have, like, they go in different sizes. The first one I drew or I painted was like super like slim, and over time it kind of like drew in different sizes, and that's totally fine. Yeah, I feel like it's really hard just to paint exactly every time. So now with this, after you're done with your carrot design, what I'm going to go ahead and do is get my favorite color, green, and basically just draw some of the stems. So with this example, I'll go ahead and just do like stems as if like we cut them, but I'll do another demonstration showing like different color carrots, and then I'll show like full stems. Yeah. Okay, so with that, I'm gonna go ahead and just find the carrots that are dry and just start painting the stems. And again, just like using the very tip of the brush and making sure that they're very like light strokes only. And again, with this process, I used to like overthink this and like draw too many like stems all over the place, but just draw a couple and then move on to the other carrots. So you'll notice that I grab enough pigment for me to kind of continue using the, I'm not having to go back and keep dipping, but if you need to, definitely do so. Okay, so I'm just going to finish up the rest. And cool. And I'm curious, I don't know if you guys can like chat in the chat box, but is it just me that tilt, like I like to like angle my paper differently and like tilt my paper all the time? I know that it can be hard just to paint straight all the time. You rotate?
Yeah, I rotate personally.
Yeah, I rotate. I know sometimes if you see my videos on Instagram, sometimes I won't rotate it, but then afterwards I'm like, oh, that was so hard. But usually for the most part, I will rotate it because it's kind of hard just to like paint in one direction.
Sure. Could you zoom in on your stems, or at least hold them up closer to the camera?
Yeah, totally.
The stems.
Yep, so then basically, let's go ahead and do this. So I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of go in one angle and then basically just add some like little ones next to it. And then honestly, like, it's just like really rough lines. I don't want it to be like super perfect, just like that. So you'll notice that like I'll have like one or two that are kind of like around the same length, and I'll usually start in the middle point, but the rest around it will be like really, I guess they'll be shorter lines. Yeah. So there you have it. There's the first carrot pattern, and I feel like it just adds like a really like fun colors. And I think I wanted to do carrots as well because it's like summertime, and it just, I don't know, it was colorful. So there you have it with that carrot design. I'm gonna go ahead and just like using another sheet of paper, I'll go ahead and pull in I'll go ahead and draw 3 different carrots. So I'm actually gonna demonstrate it first. I'll pencil it out just to kind of show you what I'm talking about. So with this design, I'm going to actually probably have my paper at that horizontal angle, and I'm going to basically have like one carrot at the center point here. Like that, and then I'm just going to have like ones around it just kind of like complementing that angle. I'm going to try to make them stretch a little bit so that way some of the colors can start bleeding into the carrots as well. So you'll see like I'll go ahead and like use like the orange color here and then the yellow and then the purple, or I might do the purple in the middle. Actually, let's do that. Let's do the purple in the middle and then the orange on the left and the yellow on the right. And then I'll go ahead and paint some of like the stems, how it would be. Honestly, like it's not going to be like a realistic carrot or stem, but it's kind of like my process to kind of like show you like that illusion of the carrot. So that's my rough sketch of my carrot. Okay, so
hey Shelly, sorry to interrupt. Your carrots looked great. I saw a few people ask where they could catch the recording of this, and it's going to be at michaels.com/classes. And also, you can share your work using hashtag #MakeItWithMichaels. And if Sarah had another hashtag for you guys to share, and then we can see all of your work.
Oh yeah, please do share it. I would love to see your work. Yeah, give us all a tag, and you can also tag me at Letters by Shells, and I would love to repost it on my end. Sorry, Sarah, were you going to say something?
No, I was going to say whatever you had, Letters by Shells, and Make It with Michaels. If you're using any, Strathmore papers, feel free to take Strathmore so we can see as well. If you've got some Daler-Rowney paints, we'd love to see. If you've got Princeton brushes, feel free to show us because we love to see what everybody's making.
Totally. It makes my heart so happy that you all are here with us. So thank you for choosing your evening and afternoon just to paint with us. But yeah, I would love to see it. Please do post about them, and I will repost on my end as well. Okay, so actually, I did see a comment about drawing the carrots with longer stems. So let's actually instead, sorry if you already started painting, let's paint at a portrait at that vertical angle, and that way I can kind of like emphasize on the stems over here at the very top. Okay. So with that, let's go ahead and start with my purple. So let's see which purple color I got. So with the purple, with these carrots, I basically want to create like that softer finish. So what I'll do is I'll basically paint half of the carrot one color, and then the other half, I'll just pull the rest with water. So I'm going to go ahead and start painting at that center point here. And just basically adding just like a really rough edge at the very bottom right there. And okay, I painted too much, a little bit with the pigment, but it's okay, I'll just pull the rest with water. And I'm just gonna go ahead and like leave a little bit of a white space at the bottom as well, just to add like that fun illusion with it. So now the next thing, I'm gonna go ahead and paint the yellow carrot. So I wanna paint right next to it. So with that, I'm gonna go ahead and basically outline my carrot first, not touching the purple color, because I kind of want to see like how I want the placement to be and things like that. I'm gonna actually have this carrot go a little bit longer. And now that I kind of have like a good angle of how I'm gonna paint the carrot itself, I'm going to try to kind of drag this edge a little bit over and just gently have the paint touch a little bit with the purple, not too much. Mine kind of dried, so like the purple is not pulling in, but if it's still wet, you should see like your purple kind of like merge into the yellow, or the yellow will merge into the purple carrot. It's like super fun to always see that. I'm just going to paint the rest with water. Okay, just like that. And you'll notice that I kind of just like left some like white spaces as well. Okay, so now the rest I'm going to go ahead and paint with my orange color. And then I'm gonna go ahead and have it at the same level of the yellow carrot and kind of just like create that same angle. So my purple carrot already dried, so I can't have them like touch and like the colors won't bleed together. But if yours is still wet, you should be able to see that happen. So again, a really rough finish, and I'm just gonna paint the 1/2 orange and then the rest with water. That. And basically that's like my 3 little carrots. You can of course paint more carrots as well, but I'm gonna go ahead and show you all when it comes to like adding the stem part. So if you have 2 colors of green, that could definitely be helpful. So I'm gonna paint one color. It's like a brighter green color. And what I'm gonna go ahead and do is this. So I'm going to use like the very tip of my paintbrush and basically just draw these like long stems that are basically like going at like different angles like that. And then honestly, like it's like the exact same concept of these carrots that I drew earlier, but then now just, they're gonna be a little bit longer. Now I'm gonna also try to pull another color of green. And basically we're going to use like the tip of the paintbrush again and just kind of like add some like dots, basically kind of like adding like rough dots around the carrots as well. So again, this is like my illusion of adding that leaves. Honestly, like you can go in and draw like individual leaves, but I don't have the patience for it. So this is like my illusion of leaves at work. So you'll notice that I'm using like the tip and like the side of the brush. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to bring one closer. So you'll see that I'm kind of just like dabbing at the paper itself. And like they're like super rough. If you try to like work too much at it, then it's going to, I think adding detail is fine, but like adding like a really rough finish could be fun. Just like that. You can just kind of like add more. So then basically that's the same concept we're going to do with the rest of the carrots. Okay. And so and basically the exact same idea. And honestly, like you can use different shades of green just to kind of like make the stalk stand out a little bit more. And then I'm going to just add the rest on the other orange. I'm going to use a darker shade of green for the stem because you can't really see it. And then just kind of going back and dabbing it in. So the goal is to kind of like add the dots, but also make sure that there's like a good amount of like white space around it as well. So that way you can kind of tell that it is a carrot, or I mean, sorry, not carrot, but that it is a leaf. Like that. And yep, there you have it. So far we've done a couple different things. We did the pattern with the carrots and then along with the 3 carrots around it. So I hope you had a good time painting carrots with me. I would love to answer any questions that you may have about painting and just like any questions you had maybe throughout the class. But yeah, this is like what I wanted to show you all today. I hope you all had a good time. Really means the world that I saw so many of you tune in. So thank you so much for that.
Someone had a question about how you hold your brush, whether you hold it like a pen or a pencil, or do you have any tips on the best way to hold your brush as you're working?
Oh yeah, no, totally. So with the paintbrush itself, I kind of like change my different angles. So I guess it depends like how light of a stroke that I want to paint, but oftentimes I will hold my paintbrush how I would hold like a pencil and pen because I find that it gives me like more control. Yeah. And again, the 2 motions is that if I use the belly of the paintbrush and if I'm basically painting like the body of the carrot itself, I will use like the, I'll hold my paintbrush more at that horizontal angle. But again, if I'm just drawing like the stems and like the leaves, I'll just use the very tip of it and hold it at that vertical angle. Yeah. But yeah, no, those are good questions. How about you, Sarah? Any questions that you had as well, or anything that you want to mention?
Well, I just wanted to thank you too. I know everybody was saying how therapeutic and how soothing and how fun and nice this was. So thank you for being so positive and being for joining us and being such a great instructor.
Sarah.
And then someone was asking where they could post pictures. You know, if anyone posts them on Instagram, feel free to tag Shelly, use the hashtag Make It With Michaels, use Letters by Shells hashtag so we can see all your wonderful work, because we want to see the carrots that you guys painted.
Yeah, I would love that. Should we add like our handles in the chat? Would that help? Or
Yeah.
yeah, okay, cool. Well, I'm reading the comments as well. You all are making my heart so happy. Thank you so much for all the kind words. Honestly, again, I was looking forward to this workshop for a really long time. If you have been following my journey, I do host in-person workshops quite often, but because of everything, I haven't been able to do that. So this was a really nice opportunity that Princeton, Strathmore, and Daler-Rowney gave me with Michael. So thank you so much, Sarah, as well, for the opportunity. But yeah, no, I had such a good time. Honestly, like, again, this is like the highlight of my entire year. And if you are interested, we do have other classes that we'll be doing. So this is the first series of the carrot. The next one that we're going to be doing together is like colorful backgrounds. And that's basically understanding more of like the water techniques on like how it is where you just add water and you just dab like different colors into it, and like seeing how colors blend together. And the other classes that we'll be hosting is like, I think the florals, I'm not too sure, Sarah, if you know, but like it's like maxed on this sign up. So they're thinking about maybe if they want to do like a webinar type session.
Sure. Yep. It's from what I understand, that's how we would do that if we're
Right.
on signups, just to make sure that everyone can get in there and watch.
I had no idea that a lot of people would sign up for that one, but I'm so happy that they did. And the last one we'll be doing is like tropical leaves. So basically talking more about how to paint individual like loose leaves with a background and things like that. But
Ellie, if you wanted to write on like a piece of paper your Instagram handle and hold it up, people watching the recording later can't see the chat.
oh, you're so right. Oh my gosh. Okay. I will do that right now. No, thanks for that heads up. But yeah, Sarah, do you have anything else to say?
Well, someone's mentioning maybe we should all show our work again if everybody wants to hold up their carrots, and we can all take a look at some pieces that were made.
Oh, I would love that. Let's do it. Please, please, please. I want to see. I'm like so happy about carrots. I hope y'all have a different like perspective of carrots now. So very cool. So, oh, I love it. I love seeing it all. So beautiful. The background and like the stalks. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm watching. Oh, you all did such an amazing job. Oh, I want to cry. So it means the world that a lot of you are tuning in and painting with me. So thank you so much for making my heart so happy and brightening my day. Oh my gosh, no, I love seeing it all. Thank you. You guys are the best. I don't want you all to go. But before I do, I would love to stay in touch with you all. Feel free to reach out via Instagram as well. I'm going to write on a piece of paper my Instagram handle. And then in my stories, I also tagged like Strathmore, Princeton, and Daler-Rowney as well. But basically, feel free to give me a tag at Letters by Shells. Yay. I think that's enough time. So, okay, but thank you so much again for just having fun with me. And if you have questions about like how to like basically now what to do with this, feel free to reach out. I'd love to answer your questions. But I think that's it. That's all I had for today. I'm also usually on multiple social platforms. It's still going to be Letters by Shell, so feel free just to find me on there. And I love your asking. So yeah, I see a lot of thank yous for this class. I mean, honestly, thank you all for tuning in and painting with me. It makes me so happy. Okay, I'm reading the comments. But other than that, Sarah, do you have anything else to say?
No, just, I want to say thanks everybody as well for joining us. It was awesome to see how many people were here and having fun with us and Shelly and Michael's and making carrots. So thank you all.
Oh, no, thank you so much. Seriously, I feel the same. Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, again, follow us closely if you want to join more classes. We're going to be doing like a whole series. So there's 3 more classes that will be painting. I would love to see you all there as well. Okay, I think that's it. I will put this on the screen for the last, and yeah, I guess this is goodbye. Oh, okay, bye everyone. Yeah, thank you, Sarah, as well.